to attend the high-level segment of this year's climate change conference, COP22. Well, Sarah Kimani is at the conference. We chat to her now. She's on the line from Marrakesh. Good afternoon, Sarah. Climate finance and whether rich nations will meet their commitments thus far in sharp focus this afternoon.
Well, we expect it to come into sharp focus this afternoon when Ban Ki-moon holds a meeting with the UNEP Executive Director, Eric Steinheim. And one of the things they're going to be talking is the financing gap that still exists from the money that developed countries have promised to developing countries. They're talking about $100 billion a year by 2020. However, the UNEP is warning that there is a gap of about $140 billion to $300 billion by 2030, and they're saying that unless anything is done now and unless the money is mobilized and developed countries come up with ways of raising that money, then developing countries risk facing climate-induced disasters.
Sarah, on that note, as per the Paris Agreement, we understand richer nations pledged $100 billion, like you've said, by 2020 to help developing ones. What will the impact be of a U.S. pullout of the Paris Agreement at this stage? We know Trump has been a denialist when it comes to climate change, often calling it a hoax even.
Well, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon spoke to the media before going into the opening of the high-level session, which is currently underway in Marrakesh, and he said he has spoken with President-elect Trump, and he told him the need for him to honor the Paris Agreement, saying it is not just in the interest of the world, but also in the interest of the U.S. that the U.S. honors its part of the bargain in that accord. And we just heard that the French President, Francois Hollande, also speaking on the same, saying that the French government will be leading talks to Mr. Trump to see to it that he honors the agreement. Both leaders, both Ban Ki-moon and Francois Hollande, saying that the Paris Agreement is unstoppable and that the world will move on, whether the U.S. moves along with them or not. Of course, we asked about the impact. One of the issues that would be affected is the U.S. had pledged to give $3 billion to developing countries. This far, they have given $500 million. And so it is not clear if the U.S. pulls out, if developing countries will be able to get the remainder of that climate finance. There's also the issue of the U.S. being among the top polluters. So if it pulls out of the Paris Agreement, it means then that it does not have to abide to issues of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. It does not have to fast-track moving to renewable energy. That would mean also that our countries would have very rough dealing with a country that is among the ones that are contributing to a warmer globe, to climate change.
Sarah, we understand thus far Africa refusing to be bullied. South African Environmental Minister Edna Molewa saying that they were not consulted enough on that specific plan for fighting climate change on the continent. What kind of resolve or fervour are African delegates showing thus far to get a favourable outcome for the continent?
Well, it was called the 3S Action Plan for Africa, and it was talking about sustainability, stability, and security. The issue that South Africa raised, which was also raised by Ethiopia and Egypt and Congo, is that not enough consultation had been done with the African ministers, who would then be the ones who would have to implement this agreement. It was also talking about trying for African countries to work towards stemming the exodus of young people from the continent. Most of them are leaving the continent because of land degradation, and when their land becomes unproductive, they find that they want to leave to be able to seek greener pastures outside, many of whom have drowned on the Mediterranean Sea as they try to cross to Europe. However, South Africa was very clear that at this point there is not clear evidence that insecurity and climate change are tied, and they want the two to be disassociated. They also want the issues of security left to the U.S. Security Council and the issues of climate change left to this forum. So what happened now is that has been shelved. A smaller committee led by Egypt was formed, and now we are waiting to see if they will still adopt that during this session, or they will await to adopt it during the African Union summit in January. Because one of the other things that Malawa was raising is that the African Union has not been fully consulted on the matter.
Sarah Kimani, our correspondent, on the line from Marrakesh in Morocco, where the COP22 talks are still underway.